Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another thematic webinar. It's going to be the last one of 2021 as we sort of wind down for the holidays. I'm just going to give everybody a minute to come in, settle down. I know you've all had a long day, probably of, sort of stuck in classes and tuitions and things like that. So, this is your opportunity to just kind of kick back, relax, listen to our fantastic panel, come up with some questions, and really, just try to understand more about studying creative arts and design in the UK. And hopefully this is useful as well as interesting for you. Thank you all for joining. So today's thematic webinar is on studying creative arts and design in the UK. The UK is definitely the forefront of studying creative arts and design. Excellent institutions and universities in the UK, and really kind of cutting edge work coming out of there. And I think it's a great opportunity for all of you to hear from the experts. So we have three fantastic universities here. We have faculty, we have representatives from there, so that you can ask them directly any questions you have. You can ask them questions about studying creative arts and design. You can ask them questions around, working after studying creative arts and design. You can ask them about how you would make the transition from India to the UK studying this subject. And if you have any generic questions about generally studying in the UK, whether it's the graduate route or, if you have any concerns around safety on UK campuses, this is also a fantastic platform for that. I'm going to quickly introduce our really cool panel today. We have the University of Warwick with us. We have Dr. Jonathan Vickery, who's Director of the Arts, who's Director of the Centre for Cultural and Media Policy Studies. Welcome, Jonathan. We have Livia Lita, who's Faculty Recruitment Officer for the Faculty of Arts, Marketing and Student Recruitment. It's great to have you with us, Livia. We also have the University of Glasgow. Donna, it's great to have you back with us. Thank you for joining us. And we have Birmingham City University, where Professor Delia Skinner, who is Program Director for the Masters, for the MA in Interior Design Program. And we have Disha Gupta, who's Regional Manager, South Asia. Welcome, Delia. Welcome, Disha. It's great to have you with us.
Namaste. Good evening.
Thanks, Delia. So I think, just to tell everybody, this is an opportunity for you to not just sit back and listen, but also question, ask, get all your doubts out there, because, you're not going to get an opportunity like this very easily, where there are experts from the UK just waiting to answer your questions. There is a small bubble on your screen with a question mark. That's where you put in your questions. Put in as many questions as you want to. You can ask questions around the courses, around your sort of individual prospects of studying this, what is required. We know that arts and design is not a typical subject, right? It's not the way you would apply for maybe many other subjects, because the requirements can be different. The academic and the practical requirements are probably different. You may have to build a portfolio. It may not just depend on your academic, record so far. So just get those questions and queries out of the way today. So put in your questions, they will be published, and I promise you we're going to go through as many as possible. I know I know our panel are going to be more than happy to do that. Besides that, I wanted to just quickly mention the format that we're going to follow today. We're going to start with the University of Warwick, who will present, and then we're going to stop for questions. After that, we're going to have Glasgow presenting, and then again stop for questions. And finally, we have Bcu, Birmingham City University, presenting and then stopping for questions. So there's lots of opportunities to just really chat and find out more about studying creative arts and design in the UK. So without further ado, I think thank you all for joining, and we're going to kick off. We're going to kick off with Warwick. So Jonathan, do you want to try share your screen? And while Jonathan does that, just to tell you all that put your questions into the Q&A box, and our panel will try and answer them in the Q&A box as well. So keep an eye on the Q&A box. If you've answered a question, it's possible. If you've asked a question, it's possible that it's been answered there already. But if it hasn't, I will come to it. Don't worry. Jonathan, I can see your screen. Great. You're good to go.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can. Yeah.
Great. Excellent. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. I'm just going to give you a kind of overview of arts and creativity at Warwick, actually a focused overview, because we're starting with the whole campus, which looks very green and looks in the middle of the English countryside. Well, it kind of is, but it's in the centre of England and it's very interconnected, very international, and ranks fairly highly in the rankings if you take any notice of rankings, but importantly, it's mobile. That is, we get out and travel. And the University of Warwick has been very much a international marketing, communications and traveling universities that has invested an awful lot of time and energy in employer relations, in its global brand, in its marketing comms, and keeping in touch with students after they've graduated. And that's partly because we're not in the middle of a great city. That is, we don't draw on the brand of a famous city, but rather we've had to construct our own reputation. And even though we're on the edge of a very interesting city, we are really internationally focused. And of course, well, some of the great, most recent innovations on the campus is indeed kind of in partnership with India. We have great kind of relations with Tata Motors, who are helping Warwick engineers and academics develop, cutting edge automobile design in new cars, driverless cars, more sustainable fuel and energy and batteries and electric cars and all kinds of things. But there's also another great building called the International Digital Laboratory, of which I have been involved in setting up, and so have my colleagues. The centre has been involved in setting up. Now, there are many different dimensions of the Warwick campus. We're a very open campus, very open to the city, and there are lots of exciting things happening at the moment in the city as it does. We're the city of culture. There's a great biennale. There are different ways of transforming spaces, and students are very active, around 50,000 students in the city, almost 55,000 students, very active in kind of transforming places and spaces. It's a very open city, a city open to change, and that's because it has a history of, if you like, design, a history of immigration, a history of social transformation. So we're very aware of a global present in the context of the heart of England. This is the city of Coventry, which has a huge history spanning, well, over 1,000 years. This is the centre of it. And there are a lot of students who live in the centre of Coventry. But this is our new building for the creative arts, called the Faculty of Arts building, known as the FAB, which sounds a bit crass, but there you go. It's a fantastic building, but it's only just opened. That's why it looks empty and all brand new. It literally opened just over a week ago, and we are just moving into this building. It's important because us here in the Centre for Cultural and Media Policy Studies, we have been very much involved with the architects and with the designers designing this space for new ways of teaching subjects which are fast evolving. So we're very much a future orientated university, looking at the ways in which our courses don't reflect knowledge accumulated from the past as much as they do a vision for the future, an increasingly fast moving, changeable future. Well, in the centre, and we're called a centre because we developed as a postgraduate centre offering international master's degrees, but now we take undergraduates. And so we're a kind of small centre in a larger school, which I'll introduce to you in a moment. We don't teach practitioners. For example, if you want to become a camera person or you want to become an artist or something, we don't teach practitioners so much, but we use practice as a way of developing management level skills in everything from intellectual property to digital media across to strategy planning and all kinds of policy and framework making skills. So you'll be kind of aiming for management or kind of entrepreneur level roles and positions professionally within industry if you study with us. So with arts, creative design, and this cluster of subjects, we're not aiming to teach practitioners, we're aiming to teach, if you like, leaders and managers, which is why we have a big emphasis on communications through interactive learning and participatory learning, and we're constantly developing the learning processes of students. We deliberately keep our courses small. Most of our course years have a kind of a limit of 25 to 30. So you will be in smaller groups and smaller classrooms in which you will have a lot more interconnection with professors and with your teachers and tutors. But also we are an open centre in which our courses are interconnected with other courses and other places and spaces on campus. So our students regularly attend lectures and events by other people and other groups. And of course, they have opportunities for being involved in off-campus activities like placements, residencies, or the kind of connections that we have with various organizations and companies around. But importantly, students have a choice of specializing. Now, we are within a brand new school of creative arts, and this has many dimensions apart from our center in film and television, theatre performance, history of art, and creative writing and translation. So you will be in a community of all kinds of students studying all kinds of creative arts, skills and abilities and vocational pathways. And I think it's important that you understand how important that community of students is, because we encourage students to learn from each other as much as they learn from the tutors and their courses. Well, just to run through our courses, which kind of embody a potent ethos, where that ethos is as much to do with developing an individual student's capabilities as it is from learning about the subject. Well, our BA in Media and Creative Industries integrates theory and academics with practice, but also industry interconnection. So we try to take you on a journey over 3 years of learning how to handle devices and software and the kind of technologies of new media and creative production, but also really to start thinking about their contexts and how they're being produced and developed for a vastly changing world, or a fast changing world, and how media products today have to travel through various different cultural zones and cultural spaces and countries and parts of the world. And so our BA in Media and Creative Industries is very much about a journey from knowledge into the future. And then we have a series of master's degrees. Now, these are important because many of our BA students are heading for the masters, because the masters is really where you can specialize and upgrade your skills to a professional level. And the MA in Arts, Enterprise and Development is really looking at the role of creative enterprise within global development. And that's not just on a worldwide scale, that's on a local and national scale, the way that every government and region is now using the arts and creative industries as a way of social and economic development and growth. And so we're looking at that, and we've had students who have got jobs with the United Nations or perhaps with independent consultancies, but also started up their own projects or small creative businesses, or joined some of the great cultural sectors like the heritage sector, or have done research roles for various different organizations. Well, our second MA is the MA in Creative and Media Enterprises, which is really about creative thinking becoming actualized or materialized in a viable project or business, some kind of organized entity that really does generate creative products and services and hit the market and generate value for different people in different places. That's the MA in Creative and Media Enterprises with the strapline, how do you turn a creative idea into a creative business? Very much about startups. And we've had students go really to a huge range of career destinations, from intellectual property to the TV industry, from consultancies, think tanks, and yes, a whole range of arts and cultural sectors. Well, our third MA is really in global media and communication. And this is looking at really larger media production in the world today, both at national broadcast level, but also global satellite and global market kind of level. The huge changing world of communications networks and large corporations, and what media production is turning into with new digital media, with artificial intelligence, with all kinds of new technologies that are changing fast, but also raising huge questions about how people around the world communicate, the politics of that, social change, and questions of environment and sustainability, and how media is becoming a huge industry of production and consumption. And students have been highly successful in hitting careers on a whole range of communications sector sort of jobs in not just in the media, but in a huge parts of the creative industries involving communications, like public relations and marketing, for example. And lastly is our Masters in International Cultural Policy and Management. Really, this is about managing arts, culture and heritage, but doing so in a radically changing environment and a radically changing international context, in which we're really starting to think about the world as much more of an interconnected place, and how what once were local crafts or local heritages now are becoming kind of much more open to be relevant to people from different cultures and countries, or perhaps part of a stimulated visitor economy, or simply part of a pedagogic project in which people can learn more and develop their sense of identity and who they are and the various stories that make up the place in which they live. So the MA in International Cultural Policy and Management is really about taking arts and culture and really sort of energizing it and really projecting it forward into a radically different social and economic world. And students have been fantastically successful in getting jobs in a whole range of activities, from indeed agencies like the British Council to independent consultancies on government, both regional, national and local government. And of course we do PhD studies, and some of our students go from the masters to do the doctoral level study, which is the highest degree you can get. So we probably have around 20 PhD students at any one time, and around up to 100 master students at any one time, and probably around 150 BA students at any one time. So we're kind of a small-ish, if you compare us with universities around the country, a smallish centre of arts and creativity. And we keep in touch with our students, and our students say wonderful things about us, and we really do value our graduates around the world. And every year we have at least one, if not two, alumni events where graduates around the world keep in touch with us. And I still have students who graduated over 20 years ago, but still turn up to our graduate events or keep in touch with us. Well, I'm very pleased to answer any questions here, and I'll be shutting off my presentation.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. I think that was hugely interesting. I think you've spanned the massive kind of range of things that you do at Warwick. We've seen quite a few questions coming in, but to be honest, Livia's been brilliant and she's answered pretty much everything in the chat box. I'm going to maybe still pick up a couple of things for the other universities to maybe come in. If anybody offers UI, UX design, please do pop that into the chat box there. If anyone's offering scholarships in studying music, please do pop that in as well. The duration of the course is something that was asked, and Livia has mentioned that a master's is 1 year and the undergraduate is 3 to 4 years. If that is true for Glasgow and BCU as well, I think that's fine. If it's not, please do let us know. Great. I'm just going to, I think Jonathan's been logged out. I think, yeah, the team's going to get him back in. Not a problem. Okay, so just since Jonathan's not here, Livia, do you want to maybe, could you maybe quickly comment on what kind of requirements are expected in a portfolio in general? And then I'll go to Delia on the bit about interior design.
Sorry, my dogs have been very, very loud because we've just had a delivery. But yes, of course, I'll do my best to try and answer. So, in fact, for our a lot of our courses don't require a portfolio, but some of them do. I can put the link in the chat for that. It may be that depending on the course that the students are interested in, we may ask for an example of an essay that they've written. So it really does vary depending on the course that they're applying for, whether it's an undergraduate or postgraduate program. For example, for our masters in writing, we'd be asking for a sample of a piece of work that they've written. But the things that we're looking at most are definitely the references, the personal statement, and ultimately we need our students to meet the entry criteria. So I'm not sure if Jonathan's actually, I don't think Jonathan's covered the entry requirements.
No, yeah,
but in terms of the entry requirements, all of our courses would require at least the 2-1 degree, ideally a first class. And for English language, the majority would be a minimum of a 7 in Ielts, with the exception of the MA in writing and the MA in literary translation studies, which would require a 7.5. So hopefully that's helpful. I'll post all the links in the chat.
That'll be great. That'll be great. Thank you. I'm going to scholarship for industrial design. Is it good to have work experience before joining masters in design? Livia, do you want to quickly come in on that? I can take that to Donna as well.
So whilst we don't necessarily do interior design, was that the question about interior design?
No. This is about whether you need to have work experience before joining a master's.
Oh, right. It's not a requirement, but obviously it's something that's quite beneficial. So if our applicants do have work experience, it's something that they can talk about within their personal statement. Sometimes employers will provide a reference as well, even though typically we'd ask for an academic reference. But for a student who, for example, has been out of the industry, out of studying for quite a while, but they've been working in the industry, then work experience would be particularly beneficial.
Exactly, that makes sense. Thank you so much, Livia. I'm going to move on to Donna at Glasgow very quickly. Donna, do touch upon, the kind of work experience you need, the duration of your courses, and any scholarships that you have. When we come to Delia, I'm going to make a request, Delia, that you do talk about developing a portfolio in interior design, because that is clearly your area of expertise. So look forward to that. But thanks, Delia. Great. So Donna, over to you, University of Glasgow.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I'm just going to share my screen and share my slides. Okay, so thank you very much. So my name's Donna and I'm in the international office here at the University of Glasgow. And the University of Glasgow is slightly different in that we are a Scottish institution. So there will be a couple of points that are slightly different compared to the structure of some degrees here in Scotland. But for the most part, we are a large institution. We have been around quite a long time. We're a member of Russell Group, established in 1451, and in the top 100 worldwide, with a very diverse student body. So before we go into the university in a lot of detail, I think we'll mainly talk about, today we'll focus on creative arts, and we'll also talk about why Glasgow is a great destination for art. So the city is renowned for being very friendly and welcoming, which is great, but it is also a real hub for culture and creativity, and that's pretty evident in it's kind of coming out of the pores of the city. It is the UNESCO City of Music, and it offers a huge amount of variety when it comes to arts programming and activities that students can do. You've got a huge range of artists, not just visual artists, but musicians, theatre and performance artists, as well as writers based here in the city. And the city and the university have great relationships with some of these larger activities, such as the I Write Festival, which is a book festival and a writing festival based here in the city. You've got Glasgow's Women's Library, the Contemporary Centre of Arts, Tramway Gallery, and the Kelvin Grove Museum, just as a couple of examples. And then if we look at the university's relationship with the city and culture, you've got, we are first in the UK for film production and photography, and fourth in the UK for drama, dance and cinematics. The city itself is also renowned for its relationship with film and media. We were literally just witnessing some of the filming for Indiana Jones taking place in the city centre. The new Batman film is filmed there, and you'll notice Succession. There's also some parts of that filmed here in Glasgow. It's a real capital, as I've said, for media. It's home to BBC Scotland, Scottish TV, STV as we shorten that, and an array of independent production companies. So it's very much, arts and culture is very much in the city's DNA. The university itself is part of that community, and offers not just these resources just to students. These are accessible to non-students as well, but they are an indicator of the connections that we have with the city and the culture of that city. So on campus you do have the Hunterian Museum and the Hunterian Art Gallery. You've got the Mackintosh House, which is part of the Charles Rennie Mackintosh estate. You've got the special collections based at the University Library. These are usually manuscripts and other written documents. You've got the James Arnott Theatre and the Andrew Stewart Cinema, which are not just facilities for students using them for their studies, but also used for everyday activities as well. So there's a real connection between the city, the university, and the students that are learning. Oh, so I think I've skipped past that. So not going to dwell on it. I just wanted to highlight that we have a College of Arts. So our university is split into 4 colleges, and the College of Arts is obviously the focus for today. We're obviously not going to look at all of these degrees today, but it just kind of gives you an indicator of the options available and the variety that we have here. So what I've done today is focus a bit more on certain subject areas. So within the college, there are 4 schools. The School of Critical Studies, School of Culture and Creative Arts, School of Humanities, and the School of Modern Languages and Cultures. And today I'm going to talk a little bit more about creative writing, film and TV, and music. But you can see there will be degrees that fall into all of these categories. We have multiple film and TV programs. We have multiple music programs, for example. So there's different degrees within these subject areas. These programs that I'm going to talk about are available to students from September onwards. So this this is the only undergraduate degree that I'm going to focus on today. The rest will be postgraduate. But I wanted to highlight it because it's one of our new degrees for this year. It starts in September 2022, and it is a 4-year bachelor's degree. And this is where you will notice a slight difference between us and some English institutions, in that our bachelor's degrees are 4 years long. This is our MA, Creative Arts and Industries, and an MA in Scotland is the equivalent to a BA, so it is a Bachelor of Arts degree. But because Scotland and Glasgow in particular is an ancient institution, we call these MAs, Master of Arts. So this is a new degree that has been created specifically to give students the opportunity to engage creatively and critically with all artistic fields. So media will be a large part of this degree, but it is not the only sector that you will be looking at. You'll get a lot of industry awareness. You'll be working with industry professionals, getting those collaborative skills, which are obviously really transferable. It will be a mixture of practice-based and collaborative learning, and that is important when it comes to employability. And there will be an emphasis on the ethics and politics of cultural production within this, but it is a 4-year bachelor's degree for students coming out of high school. So we'll come back to entry requirements, but things like CBSE and ISC State Board would all be eligible for that programme with the right grades and subject areas. So I was going to talk a bit more about some of the postgraduate options, so I wanted to highlight creative writing. This is called an MLit, or a Master of Letters is the degree title for this. It's available in person and online, and it's a really great programme for those who are aspiring to be creative writers themselves. We have a really strong writing sector here in Scotland, and you can see some of these notable names that are connected with our degree programme. Our degree is very focused on not just the actual writing, but learning about the industry as well. So you will get to understand what it's like to publish, to work in the publishing sector from that perspective, so that you have a fully rounded knowledge for that particular degree. You'll also get a chance to connect with the alumni who've previously studied this degree and gone on to be shortlisted and published themselves. You'll get to hear about their own experiences, and you'll also get a lot of time one-to-one with your academics in order to develop your writing skills, and also working in peer review. So that's a really important part. You'll assess other people's work and they will assess yours, and you'll be allowed to discuss that as you go through the studies. Now it's important to point out that you'll also have the emphasis on experimentation. The department is very keen that students experiment with their writing while they're studying with us, as well as learning things like the business side of it. And I'd also add that some of these names work very closely, some of the writers' names work very closely with our department when it comes to teaching. So there are novelists, and Alistair Gray, for example, once held a professorship with the university, and there's currently novelists such as Zoe Strachan and Laura Marney on the staff register at the moment. So you will be taught by these people. So moving on from that, we offer a Master's in Creative Industries and Cultural Policy. So this is a different side to creative arts. This is looking more at the business side of things. It's a very international programme. You're going to be looking at critically assessing the creative sector and the structure. You'll work with the business school on how this sector works. How do creative workers navigate their careers? How's the creative economy going to cope with the COVID pandemic and come out the other side of it? These are all very, very important questions at the moment. It's very much at the forefront of that subject. So this is an academic course and not necessarily working on creative side of things. You'll be more academic in developing those analytic and writing skills within that degree. So very much a policy focused qualification. In comparison to that, we also have a master's. We have several masters in filmmaking, in particular the Filmmaking and Media Arts, which is a practical-based program, very hands-on, provides you with the skills for not just current production, but also the future and planning for what the future holds within this industry. It does cover the theory of film, but it is a practical course, and it is taught at our Gilmore Halls, where our cinema is based and our media archive. And as I mentioned, we're very highly ranked within the film sector within the rankings for subjects, and that's really reflected in our course content. And then also, just to finish off, to give you another comparison, we have a master's degree in sound design and audiovisual practice. So this is quite an unusual program. You won't find lots of these degrees around, but this is very much looking at advanced training in creative practice with sound and audiovisual technologies. So if this is it's obviously quite a niche section within the filmmaking and music industries. Now, one of the things I'd point out with this is that your work at the end of this would be showcased in a postgraduate event called Sound Thought, which takes place in the Centre for Contemporary Arts in the centre of Glasgow, and you'll also get the chance to showcase within the Glasgow Electronic and Audiovisual Media Festival. So we're very connected with these opportunities to allow students to develop and build up connections with the industry. You'll also build up a portfolio, which obviously allows you to then develop and take that work into the industry itself. So the university campus is what you can see on the slide at the moment. We are quite a large campus as a large institution, often compared to Hogwarts. This main building here is very much in the Gothic style and has been around. This is probably the oldest part of the campus as it exists, but it is only about 150 years old and designed by the same person that designed the Houses of Parliament. It is often compared to Hogwarts and is a very beautiful building, but most of what you see in this image is the university. So you've got the main building, the library based here, 13 stories, that's where those special collections are based. You have the support services, and then the James McCune Smith building, which is not in the image but is now there, brand new for spring 21, 7 stories high and is purely study space, so gorgeous environment. And as you can see, it's all very easily accessible. So if you were thinking about studying with us, what would you need? Well, I've given you an indication of the undergraduate entry requirements, and you can see there that these are broad guidance for entry requirements. You will need to check the specific program that you're interested in to make sure that you meet those particular requirements. For example, the creative arts program will need a humanities subject within your CBSE, for example. At postgraduate, you are going to need most likely a relevant degree in order to gain entry into the program that you're looking for. Most of the time we're looking for the equivalent to a 2-1, but obviously any relevant work experience may help with that. Now, one of the things I'd highlight, particularly for postgraduate, and we've already mentioned these, that some programs will need things like portfolio or evidence of your skill set already. So that will be very clearly explained on the program page. Creative writing, for example, does need to see a portfolio of original work. Filmmaking does need to see what skills you currently have within that field, and the same is true for sound design. However, each of these degrees will very clearly and more detailed than I've given you on this slide explain what is needed for entry so that you can be prepared for that. But please make sure that you've read those through in detail. If you're thinking of applying, then it's very straightforward to do so. You can do that online and you can find out the process on our website, but it's really just giving us your details and your documents so that we can assess you. Give you an idea of tuition fees here at the university, and then moving on from that, scholarships. So my institution has a range of scholarships. Now, These are primarily postgraduate scholarships that I've focused on here. At undergraduate, we offer an undergraduate excellence scholarship of £7,000 per year of study for highly qualified applicants, and students will be able to see what that criteria means on the scholarships pages. At postgraduate, I'd like to draw your attention specifically to the College of Art Scholarship. This is an Indian scholarship for students from India. And I think there may be one other South Asian country included in that, and it is £5,000, and it is purely for arts-based scholarships. Now, students do need to apply in order to be considered for the scholarship, but there is no separate application for the scholarship, so you will be automatically assessed for that. And you may hear from the scholarships team if you are successful. We usually get in touch within 6 weeks of your offer. There we go. That's my email address. So if there is any questions, you can ask. I'll answer any questions in the chat box as well. Okay.
Thank you so much, Donna. There are tons of questions in the Q&A box, but I think most of them are being answered as we go along. So Donna, do take a look at that. There's a question around scholarship for industrial design, requesting all the universities to come back on video just for 5 quick minutes while we go through some questions. If you have a scholarship for industrial design, do kind of, let me know so I can come to you. And if you do, I think it'll be useful to pop that link into the chat. Hi, Delia.
I believe that if you have a look, and I've put the link to product design, which is our industrial design sector, into the chat bar. There are awards. This particular program area wins lots of awards. And there are mini scholarships associated with various courses. What we try to do is align that information on the web page. So what I've done is I've attached links to the web page, and the student that wants to know about the scholarship opportunities, there will be international scholarship opportunities for applicants, but there is also a method on the web page of contacting the course director, and the course director will be able to tell you about the different nature of scholarships.
Okay, that's, I think, going to be really useful. So hope the students had a chance to look at that. Are the master's courses funded? Well, one would need to pay tuition for a master's course in the UK, but if you are looking for funding, I think that is what you mean. If there is funding available, which would basically mean if there are scholarships available, you will need to look at the scholarships and the funding routes for the various universities here, and there are various scholarship schemes and various funding routes. So do have a look at that. I'm not going to go into the big details there. Warwick has answered this one, but I'll come to Donna and Delia quickly. I did my master's in design from an English-speaking Indian university. Want to pursue my PhD in visual arts from any of the UK universities. Is Ielts mandatory? Delia's nodding yes. Donna, is that a yes from you as well?
It would potentially depend on the student's background. IELTS isn't the only test that's taken if they require a test. We may be able to provide an exemption with their CBSE, but that will depend on the student's circumstances. So my recommendation when in doubt is to include the CBSE if it is over 80% in the application form. What I should point out, and I didn't dwell on this on the slides, but to do research with us, students need to find a supervisor first. That's the process for that, and then the documents would come after. So they need to get in touch with the supervisor through our website before they start thinking about paperwork and documents and things.
That makes sense. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Delia, for adding that there are courses in UX at BCU. Donna, if you offer courses in UI or UX, okay, Donna's not nodding no there, so do look at the BCU link over there. Can you please tell us more about animation and game design courses? Does anyone want to take this one?
I can speak a little bit about it. It's not my area of subject knowledge, but we do have an amazing games design program, and it seems to be award-winning. It seems to be a really, really brilliant program. So when I do the presentation, I will stop and make sure that that student is guided towards what to have a look at. But again, every single course has links to course directors, and that's the best person to speak to for any student wanting to know anything specifically. But yes, we do have a brilliant course.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Delia. There were some questions around portfolio, which Delia has answered in the chat, but I'm going to ask you, Delia, to just maybe mention it during your presentation as well. And we'll go into that in a minute. There is a question around providing campus placement, but I'm going to come to that after Delia's presentation. And then we're going to round off with all the universities just giving us a quick summary of their offers. So Delia, over to you.
Thank you. Okay, so the student that was interested in finding out about fashion and textiles, if you do a search online, it'll take you to the department information, and then it will take you to each department's courses. What I've also put on here is an amazing website called ArtsThread, which is a not-for-profit organisation. They encourage graduates, BA students, to put their work on this website to engage with competitions and employers. So what you can do is search by specialism. So here we've gone to interior, and we can see interior design. Click that and it will take you to portfolios that are about interior design. So that's also a way of knowing what your competition are doing. I'm now going to take you to my presentation, and we're going to fly through some aspects of this presentation which are not my specialist area. And I will stop on any area that's been discussed so far. So I hope you're sitting comfortably. And here we go. Birmingham City University is globally recognised. We have students from all over the world, and we like to see the university as a collection, a community of people. We do have beautiful buildings, we do have amazing courses, but the university is people. As such, those people are given voices. So if you want to find out about scholarships, go to our website. You'll find out about all of the different scholarships that each department have and each course can connect to. Accommodation is often an area of interest for our applicants, and hearing what real student life is like from students is very, very important too. So trying to connect with real people is important. We have 25,800 students at the university, and in our Faculty of Arts and Design and Media, we have various areas of expertise. Now, as you can see, we've got the School of Games, Film and Animation. We've got the School of Acting. These are not my specialist areas, so today I'm going to introduce you to myself and why I've been asked to present today. My name's Delia Skinner and I'm a course director. My specialist area is positive psychology and the creative experience that students have in relation to positive psychology. I'm interested in confidence building. I have a background that tells me that teaching is a lot like dancing. I'm particularly interested in the collaboration of designing together and learning together. So we do a lot of action-based learning at our university and in my school. I also help the students to transform. Transformation comes through the social media of designing and being creative. We believe that the role of intermediaries, that might be a studio assistant, a technician, it might be a tutor, it might be another student, acting as a peer mentor. Those intermediaries, like my colleague, Dr. Jailing Zhao, bring their specialist knowledge and experience to the table. Jailing works with me and on every course within the School of Architecture and Design because her background is sensorial design. She's interested in smellscapes, soundscapes, and atmosphere. We also have innovators within the school who are helping the students to realise new techniques, new learning, new skills, new knowledge building. And that's what causes confidence to build. When we have these discussions, we're interested in a little bit of magic happening, a spark. So it doesn't matter who you're having a conversation with. The idea is that together you will become connected to your sense of purpose. You'll do what you love for a world that needs it. You'll get paid well and you'll do it well because you'll be connected to your purpose as a designer. This is a typical project by one of my students, an MA interior designer, and it's working on behalf of all of those citizens that operate in hospitals at night. This is the NHS nightclub, a space for good food, good company during a night shift. When the students have created amazing work, they go on to do amazing things. So this is a student from Columbia who is now working at Glenn Howell's practice in London and in Birmingham. And this is a student from the BA and the MA interior design course that progressed on to perhaps the most exciting practice in Sydney, Australia, Architectus. So we have citizens all over the world. These two students met each other when they were on the MA interior programme and have now set up their own businesses. And this happens all the time. Our students that have graduated recently are lucky to be working at one of the most exciting practices in the world. The award-winning Li Jiang is the head of X Living, and this particular woman was also a graduate of our school. So we have alumni that have gone on to do amazing things. TED Talks about creative exploration. And we have rooms that allow discussion, debate, and a sense of community. This is my studio. And this is the kind of project that a student would do in the studio. Any of you out there can find out about whether the students on a course are happy with it. Ask for information about the surveys that are conducted every year to make sure that the courses that you are applying for are exciting and credible. So my course was rated one of the highest in the UK. And here we can see my school, the School of Architecture and Design, and the publications that we have on issue. If you have a look at this, you'll see every course and graduate work connected to those areas, including PhD. So screenshot this if you're interested. Okay, the other reason for coming to Birmingham is look at the price of this ticket to get you to London. In 90 minutes, you'll be in London. And the fact that we are a centre of transport means that flights and train tickets are cheaper than most places to connect you with the capital and to connect you with other capitals. So 20 minutes from the campus that I work in is an airport that's an international airport. Birmingham is the largest city. It's the second city in the UK. It's got approximately 70,000 students. There are 5 different specialist universities in Birmingham. So it's a very young, exciting city to visit. It's incredibly cosmopolitan, and we have a great city centre for shopping and a great city centre for music. Amazing world-class music concert halls. We have the Royal Ballet in Birmingham, and just outside of Birmingham we have the Royal Shakespeare Company. It's a canal city, and it has beautiful historic buildings, amazing opportunities for you to enjoy your evenings, great places for you to work. This is our library. And of course, the communities that make up Birmingham are so diverse. Our city centre campus connects 5 new buildings. We win awards, and in the Faculty of Arts, Design and Media, you will see all sorts of amazing information, standards and facilities. Birmingham City University has the following departments of specialism. Each department has its own video, which you can access online, and each department has a number of exciting courses. Birmingham School of Architecture, for which I'm a member. Let's have a look at this.
This is the Birmingham School of Architecture and Design. RIBA accredited, with over 100 years of proven teaching expertise, new state-of-the-art studios, over 100 industry partners, and over 500 professional connections. And more than 96% of our graduates succeed into secure positions within the architecture, design, and landscape sectors.
My degree gave me everything that I needed to become a professional architect.
Here at the Birmingham School of Architecture and Design, it's all about you, your choices, how you develop your career in one of our 4 disciplines of architecture, landscape, interior design or product design. We're interested in the urbanised field. Already over 50% of the world's population are urban. They live in towns and cities, and by 2050 this will be more like 80%. In this context, our students understand the world they're living in and design solutions for 21st century lifestyles.
We make informed choices and base our decision-making on the context of our projects and briefs.
Are we building with traditional or modern materials? Are we designing for large spaces like airports or small spaces like schools and art galleries?
Is my project about towns or landscapes, or could I combine them both?
Do I need to design products for all of the above? Do I want bespoke or mass-produced?
Because of these questions, we encourage our students to work across the spectrum of their design discipline.
So I'm going to finish there because each of the schools, including fashion and textiles, has a video that you can watch. And again, if you do a search on YouTube, you should be able to link to these videos.
Delia, thank you so much for that. That was
No
excellent. Great. I'm going to invite everybody to please come back on video. I know we just have a few minutes left, but there are some questions that I want to get through really quickly. Okay, let me just get through the quick ones first. Can we combine computer science and visual arts? Is there any university here who allows that as an opportunity? Please do come in, just unmute and speak. There are also questions related to fashion designing. That could, I mean, you know, if there are opportunities at Warwick, Glasgow or BCU, please do pop that into the chat as well, a link that the student can look at and find out more. I think some of the fashion links are there already. You may have to scroll up to see that. There are questions around history and animation. Warwick has already answered that, but Glasgow and BCU, feel free to come in if you offer anything around history and animation. There was a question around entry requirements, and whether you need a diploma or any kind of work experience and things like that for an undergraduate, and or if you're happy to just take the school leaving exams from India. I think Donna has already answered that, but I request the others to come in. Warwick, what would your entry requirements be for students in undergraduate?
The entry requirements
in India
are, yes, in India, we are looking not just at academic qualifications, which are ranked at, well, against traditional English A-levels. We are looking for a portfolio. So we're looking for students with a real plan for their lives, that they want to go in a certain direction. They have evidence that they have some creative work, even if it's work you've done on your mobile phone, anything that shows that you're an active media communication person and you want to move forward with your career, and that counts for a lot. Is equally as important as your academic qualifications, which are around B and A borderline level with British A levels.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Jonathan. Yes, Delia,
I can also help with that. Can I just share screen for a second?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. If I go to this slide here, when you connect to university websites, usually you will move through a series of sort of links. You'll start with a department, a faculty, and you might find news and information about new courses being posted, and then you'll find a search for your courses. You've got to decide whether you are interested in an undergraduate or postgraduate. And when you get to the course page, there will be entry requirements and fee information. So you look on the page for entry requirements, and that's where most universities will give you exact and precise information, along with guidance about how to set up your portfolio and how to compose your personal statement. The other thing that these pages tell us are the staff, those connections that you can make then to the individuals that can help you with precise questions about scholarships, for example. Okay.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Delia. I'm going to draw this to a close with one last question. I'm going to ask every university to come in on this. There was a question around job placement. Does any of the universities here in creative art and design in the UK offer job placements? Now, mention what support you provide to students when it comes to finding their careers and moving on from their courses and finding jobs. But also I would request each of the universities to please also talk about the kind of careers and what should a student's expectations be when it comes to finding a job or finding their career after a course, because these things are cultural, obviously, but in India there are often doubts and concerns around, are you going to study arts and design? Really, are you going to get a job? Is that going to be very employable? Are you going to make enough money? I think we've come a long way from where we were maybe even a few years ago. And I think there is understanding and recognition of these being very viable career choices. But I still think we have some way to go. So, what is the UK's opinion on it? What kind of support do you provide to your students when it comes to finding their jobs or careers? I'm going to start with Donna. Okay, Delia, is it okay if I come to you after Donna?
Yeah.
Great. Donna, do you want to start us off on this?
Thank you. Okay, so you'll notice from the degrees that we offer, it's slightly different from the other two universities. We don't teach fine arts at our institutions, but within the degrees that we offer, there's no guaranteed placements, but what we have within our institution is an excellent career service that run a system called the Internship Club. So this is a facility that allows students to gain access to internships that are advertised exclusively to Glasgow students. So this provides a lot of support to students who want to do that. So there's two sides to the career service in that sense. They will help them find part-time work, and they will help them find internships, along with all the other support in terms of workshops, writing skills, writing their CV, interview skills, all that kind of stuff. The internship hub is really valuable to students. It's you can access as soon as you have enrolled, and you can log in to access those internships. What I would say, I think, when students are thinking about long-term career options, is engaging with the department is a huge part of this. I think getting connections through your academics, building up networks is really important, and taking advantage of all the opportunities that are given. I think it's really important that students are as engaged with with the department as much as possible, particularly within this sector, to make the most of every opportunity that crosses their path.
Again, I'm just going to share screen very quickly.
Thank you, Donna, for that. Very useful to know, I think, what Glasgow does. Delia, do you want to discuss what BCU does, and then we'll end with Warwick?
Yes. In our school, if a course is not accredited by an industry body, we've tried to introduce across the faculty and university placement opportunities. So in our school, all of the undergraduate courses have a placement. And we also have introduced a 6-month placement, which students organise with our support at the end of the year and the final degree. So level 6 and MA courses have this professional placement option. Again, that's on the web page, as you can see. And again, you can talk to the course director individually about that. But a fantastic and confidence building opportunity for students. We have an associate professor who is, his job is to basically network on the students' behalf, help the students to organise their placements, and on undergraduate programmes, he will organise the placements. So that's how we
manage it. Great, thank you, Delia. I think you can all kind of understand, and speaking to the students here, that different universities have different approaches, but I think what is common is that there is support available, you know, to kind of help you find your career and jobs after you are done studying your course. I'm going to come to Jonathan and Livia next, and then for your opinion and for your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, Warwick is a vast university. In my part of Warwick, it's the BA program has both second-year placements and third-year residence. What we call residencies is where you undertake work in a company, and they're both part of the degree. And so you have to do them, and there's a whole support structure there to make sure every student gets one. So it's something you really have to do. So you will be doing that, and there's a support structure set up to do that. One of our MA programs, the MA in International Cultural Policy and Management, the students can do placements if they wish. So that's one BA and one MA, but it's fairly normal that any student who, if they want to, will do some kind of internship, and there's an employability agency at Warwick to help you do that. And that's kind of extra to your degree. So there are placements which are actual modules as part of your degree. There are internships, which is something you do on top of your degree. And students are encouraged in that. I think almost all students who try and or want to do it, they do it. They end up doing it. And the support is usually just expenses. That is, you are given expenses. At the moment, my BA students, for example, they'll spend about £200 on expenses doing their placement, and they will be given £200 Of course, it's not an endless amount of money, but currently the students are given £200 to do their placement, and that they'll be given another to do their next year's residency. So that's the state of play here.
Brilliant. I think that's really useful to know. I'm just going to quickly check if there. I know we've gone beyond the hour, and I thank both students and the panel for sticking on. Just to tell everybody. Yes, Liv,
just a couple of words, if that's okay. And I think Jonathan's covered it really, really well, obviously for the Centre for Cultural Media Policy Studies, but more broadly, more widely at Warwick, alongside the agency that Jonathan's mentioned, UniTems, where students can apply for various jobs and work experience, internships, etc. We also have the Student Opportunity Careers Department, which offers a wide range of different types of work experience placements. And in fact, they've adapted really well to the current pandemic situation as well, where they've moved some of them online so students can still get that experience. So for example, we have the Teamwork program, which is a virtual international experience. It's part-time for 4 weeks, and it's open to all students and all degree disciplines. And in fact, having had to adapt to it online means that we can offer more opportunities to more students. We also have the Warwick Internship Program, which is a funded program exclusively for undergraduate students, and it's a paid 6-week internship with small businesses, charities, as well as university departments. We have the Warwick Experience Bursary, where if students have secured unpaid work placement, they get £50 a day, up to £500, so there is a limit. We also have the Erasmus Plus internships, many different courses that they can do online to be able to build up those skills to get the work experience that they need. And we also have Warwick Volunteers, the short-term mobility team, as well as the Undergraduate Research Support Scheme, which enables students to carry out a summer research project. So those are just a few examples of the different opportunities that we have.
Excellent. I think that's really useful, and I hope the students are able to kind of make the most of that when they are in the UK, and that's something they can consider when deciding where to apply. I think you can be assured of support. There's support, in kind of bucket loads in the UK, whether it comes to, you arriving in the UK, finding your home there, figuring everything, figuring your bearings, and then right up to when you graduate and then you're done with your course and then finding your job, and then you continue that, you basically become part of the legacy, right? And you join the community of alumni, which is a global community, and you kind of continue from there. I'm going to draw this to a close now. Some quick points would be that all the students who have attended today, you will be receiving a recording of this session. You will also be receiving an email after the session, which will have the email, the contact details of all the universities, so you can pick up the conversation later. You can find out exactly what your prospects are for your personal context, and I hope you will take that opportunity to be in touch with the universities. I hope this was really useful for you. I hope it cleared your doubts. I hope it inspired you to apply to the UK, and I wish everybody here a very, very happy Christmas, happy New Year if you're celebrating, and definitely happy holidays to everybody. A big thank you to the panel for joining us today. Your expertise is basically what we need, and thank you for being so forthcoming and generous with your with your presentations and your comments. And very happy holidays to you too. Have a great one. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.